Why I love Neptunia, and you should too. I have no idea. Of course, I know it by like soundtrack, and of course, I like know it from like clips and stuff. But I've never actually like come into contact with it aside from that. But yeah, we're gonna look at this. Anyways, we'll look at this. We'll look at this. That's interesting. This by Jelloriki, I think is how you say it. We're gonna look at this. I have no idea.
For a very long time, since I got back into the YouTube space, I really wanted to talk about my favorite series, Neptunia. It's not a series you hear about every day, is it? Hell, some of you watching probably have no idea what that is. And that's to be expected. It's a very niche game. But when I've grown
That is a big fucking syringe. I feel threatened. I'm already scared of needles, but like that is terrifying. that is terrifying. Who gave cute girls this big of a needle?
to love really fast. There's a lot I like about it, and it genuinely upsets me how many people shrug it off as anime fan service bullshit when there is so much more to this series under the surface. It's just that nobody gives it a chance. Again, like I said, it's niche. Not that many people know about this series, and if they do, they have a bad view on it. Because of the boobies. Everybody's afraid of the boobie.
Boobs! Boobs everywhere. Well, I'm a boob connoisseur, a boobologist, a boobologist, whatever you want to call it. So I'm here for it.
So I wanted to make a video that not only showcased the best of what the Neptunia series has to offer, but to also express just how much I love this series and how I want more people to try this game genuinely. It took a bit of time to motivate myself to make this video, and I'm not even sure if it's going to portray exactly what I'm trying to convey, but I don't care anymore. I'm going to go insane if I don't talk about it.
Is that bikini? Is that a bikini? I have one of those games. I don't, but I am the boobologist. It is. Yes, I am him. Interesting. Here we go.
Right now. So for starters, what is Neptunia? It's a video game series that started on the PlayStation 3 in August of 2010, later getting localized the following year. It was created and developed by Compile Heart and Idea Factory. I could list a number of games that these companies have worked on.
Okay, huh. Well, I know none of these, so like, okay. I know none of these.
But they're also very niche. It is worth noting, however, that Idea Factory was founded by former Data East employees, who have a more familiar face in the community. Developers of games like Joe and Mac, Windjammers, but you're probably more familiar with Burger Time. Similarly, Compile Heart is a subsidiary of Idea Factory formerly managed by a former Compile executive, Masamitsu Niitani, who is most notable for creating the Madou Monogatari series and Puyo Puyo series. The Neptunia games are produced by Naoko Mizuno, who also has producing credits in other Idea
Never play these games. They're all niche, so never play these games.
Factory games like Fairy Fencer F and Make Q. But her passion truly shines in the Neptunia series. She made this series just because she didn't think there were enough games out there that parody the gaming industry. But this series wouldn't be the way it is if it wasn't for Tsunako's
There's a lot of boobs here.
character designs. You might recognize her from the Data Live series. Her designs for the Neptunia cast just ooze personality. Every character looks great. The series wouldn't be the same.
Personality, huh? I like fan service, so I can't complain. The game looks kind of weird at first right now. Why would they have bikini? Fan service! It is needed! It is essential to anime. And anything anime related. So it makes sense.
Same without her. And with the concept of the main cast being personified video game consoles, companies, and a series of plots that parodies the video game industry, this can be a fun satire on nerd culture in general that can appeal to anyone in that space. For example, our four main casts, known as the CPUs or goddesses, Neptune, Noir, Blonde, and Vert. They're all based on video game consoles from the 7th generation of systems, Noir being PS3, Blonde being the Wii, and Vert being the Xbox 360.
Of course, the Xbox has the biggest tits. That was chosen on purpose, wasn't it?
Neptune is based on a Sega console, but because Sega fell out of the console space after the 6th generation, Neptune is based on the Sega Neptune, a cancelled Sega system that was essentially a 2-in-1 Genesis and Sega 32X. And they used that as a basis for a fictional 7th gen console. Keep up, come on. Then you got the supporting cast in IF and Compa, who are both based on Idea Factory and Compa Heart respectively. And there's a ton of other examples. Each new game introduces a handful of new characters every time, and they're always a new representation of something in the gaming industry. I could go on for hours about characters and what they're based on and how their personality.
That's kinda creative though. I guess that's why they do it, because whoops equals fan base plus money. Correct. Also, like, the ideas are rather interesting though, and creative, right? You basically take stuff from like the video game industry and basically turn them into characters in your game. It's actually kind of smart. I've not seen that anywhere yet. So that makes sense. Huh. That's interesting.
And special moves reflect that, but I think that's something to say for a future video, perhaps, maybe, I don't know. But in short, many of the characters have small or apparent quirks that goes back into the thing they're based on. They can be obvious, like Vert sometimes overheating, like the Xbox 360's Red Ring of Death, or they can be vague that only some people might notice. Like how Blonde's design in Neptunia Victory features Hanafuda cards, something that Nintendo made years before they got into gaming. Hell, I didn't even mention that the world they live in is literally called game industry.
Game industry. That's creative. That is very creative. Yes, it is. It is. It's a video on these games. That's very creative.
Couldn't be any more on the nose than that. But I believe the references and the plots themselves are sometimes more interesting than the characters. Most of the plots that happen in Neptunia can be directed back to real-life events that happen in the gaming industry. Like how the main antagonist in the first game, R4, is literally based on a pirating device for the Nintendo DS called the R4. And her whole plan is to...
I get pirated by her. I would get pirated by her. I wouldn't mind. She can pirate me. Regardless, interesting. So they even use like real life events in the video game industry for like their story. That's interesting. It's creative. It's creative and all like covered up by cute anime women. So what's the problem here? She looks good. Yeah, she does. She does look good. I love those games I'm playing since the PS3. I never played any of them.
Steals shares from the goddesses to make yourself more powerful. If it hasn't clicked yet, just replace shares with money and suddenly everything makes sense. Piracy taking money from the big corporate video game consoles. And stuff really starts kicking off in later games. The 4 felons in Neptunia Mark II are all based on problems or emotions that might affect gaming. CFW Judge is based on the hatred of game developers that fail to see their games sell well. CFW Trick is based on the wrath of those who fail to beat difficult games. CFW Brave is based on the anger of people who can't afford games. And CFW Magic is based on fanboys and fangirls in general.
What if that antagonist is essentially based on fans? That's crazy. You should try. They're super fun. Yeah, I'll look into it. That's hilarious. Okay.
Frustration, rage, resentment, and obsession. Things that can absolutely be a problem for games. And it's represented in a way where you literally see video game consoles having to go against these issues and having to resolve them. Hell, if you've played Mark II before, you know the kind of feeling the interactions between Uni and CFW Brave will induce. Uni wants to make sure that kids around the world can enjoy games while developers are compensated for it, making sure they get paid. CFW Brave wants the same thing, but for it all to be free. The satisfaction of joy should be enough for developers. They both want the same thing, for games to be enjoyed by all, but they have conflicting ways of getting to that point. You, as the player, understand completely what's going on. It's a constant argument in gaming, even more so today. With how so many games are going free to play, how emulation is a constant problem for developers, and it doesn't help the argument that the standard price for a AAA game is $70 now. The ideals of both characters here can be related to everyone who's played a game. We've all felt this problem before at some point in our lives or are still facing it.
$70, by the way, for all versions. When the digital version should be $70 because it's just data you put up on a server and download. Which it basically is. Right? There's no packaging, no like sending it somewhere, it's still $70. So we'll pay more for getting less. Maybe them being free, maybe pirating isn't as bad. Just saying. It was originally PlayStation exclusive, but about the end of PS4, they're now on all platforms. Okay, yeah. Hello, hi Joe, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Hello.
And that's just one example of a plot point making a direct reference to real-life conflicts in gaming. There's tons of others I could point out, but this interaction in particular is probably my favorite. It's one of the many reasons why I love this series. How it can turn conflicts into a narrative that not only has a comedic edge to it, but makes sense to a player once you understand that it's all satire. Everything everyone does is just a representation of what that thing they're based on would do or actually did do. The more I learn about the series, the more I love it. There's so much, god damn it. We have to talk about this now? As much as I give praise to this series as a whole, their first outing on the PS3 was horrid to say the least. Yes, compared to what
IGN 6 out of 10. Okay. And not many stars. Okay, interesting. Listen. Interesting. Okay.
Neptunia is currently like. The first game is really bad. It's slow, it's grueling, the aesthetics are just... what do you call this? It's fucking ugly. It makes this whole game look gloomy as hell compared to the bright and colorful characters, which sometimes shine more than the plot itself. And don't even get me started on this music. Like, the opening song is bopping, don't get me wrong. But immediately cut to the main menu screen.
My ass is copyrighted now. It's gonna be drilled up like iDubbbz.
What the fuck? Where did that come from? Not to mention the overabundance of fan service in this game. Reminder that the main...
I'm not surprised. 5 out of 10. Too much chest and fan service. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Creators of this series are primarily female, and guys are reviewing this game and calling it sexist. Regardless of how you feel about that, there's no denying that this alone could push someone off from giving this game a fair shot.
This is the Japanese Yuri right there. The girlies made these games. You was gonna peg you, a Doug. No, I don't want to. Yeah, I'm not surprised. The women have been at this. Yep. I'm not surprised. Wasn't there another one that recently was like an anime being mostly animated by women and like women online being like, that's sexualized. I'm like, men are pervs. I'm like, bro, this entire thing is made by women. Women animated these boobs. What are you on about?
Especially since it's one of the first things you see when you get into the game. And oh my god, they have over $100 worth of DLC in the store. What the fuck? This game had so many problems out the door, and there's even more I haven't mentioned. It's so strange that this is the game that got me into Neptunia. This was my first introduction to the series. Back in my middle school years, I was going...
It's the girls, wasn't it? It was the women. It was the anime women. Let's be honest. What attracted you into this franchise was the women. They jiggle. Yep.
Through one hell of a weep phase. Literally anything that looked remotely anime, I wanted to get into it. I dipped my toes in everything. Even this. You think I'm proud of this?
You probably aren't. I see, this is on Crunchyroll. I haven't watched it because I was like, wait a minute, that sounds weird. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing that. But it is on Crunchyroll if you want to.
Blame Netflix. So one day, while I was looking at what next potential game I should grab off the store, I saw Neptunia just sitting there looking clean and the only copy on the shelf. I grabbed it, went home, played it for a few minutes, and didn't go back for a while. The references and stuff didn't really hit me until I got back into it after I found the other two PS3 games at GameStop. Once I had the trilogy, I decided to look more into it, and that's where...
You should try Senran Kagura. I've already... See, the gacha game that I play, Lost Sword, released 3 characters as a collab with that franchise, right? I got all 3 of them. It's early 2000 ecchi harem. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Japanese people just like every anime episode when it's not an anime girl with huge boobs and ass. Not really. I wouldn't... How do you get to that conclusion? I mean, fan service is part, but like not every anime is fan service. I mean, look at Dragon Ball. Or uh, what else do we have? I guess Solo Leveling. Or I mean, they do all have boobs, but like not really. Or like how people really didn't like one of the more recent JJK episodes because it was just aura farming and no story and like,
Where I never looked back. The concept, the characters, the world building, the lore, it caught me, and I bought a PS Vita just to play Rebirth 1. Since then, I bought so many limited editions and games at release that I can't even find space for them anymore. And it all started with a shitty game. It's amazing this game even had a future, but that's because its next game literally saved it from being buried alive. Hyperdimension Neptunia Mark II. Releasing in August of 2011, this is the first sequel to the Neptunia series. Kind of. You see, this is where the plot starts getting confusing, so I'll try to summarize it the best I can. The Neptunia universe is separated into dimensions. The first game takes place in Super Dimension, while Mark II takes place in Hyperdimension, which is considered the main timeline, quote unquote. I don't know if there was a specific reason for doing this, it's just how
weird dimension, chaos, confusing. Yeah, interesting. I mean, I think it depends on how you said by community, fan base, anime story, etc. But there are very much gooners. Yeah, but like the gooners are the ones that keep these fandoms alive. Do you think the non-gooners buy all the figurines and the merch and the body pillows and like everything? No, they don't. You need the gooners. You need the ones that are obsessed with a franchise to make a franchise stay alive. Otherwise it just dies.
it is, but the idea of multiple dimensions does get utilized in future titles, so at least it's staying on point, I guess. It's more evident when you play both games back to back because they'll mention previous events, but they won't be the same from the previous game. Like how IF and Compa first met Neptune, and the implication that the CPU candidates have been here from the beginning. But it's okay, because separating this from the first game was probably a good idea, because nobody would want to play the first game to understand this. And luckily you don't have to. The gameplay has been altered drastically, and it laid the groundwork for what—
Oh yeah, right? It's like more action-based, right? At least that's what it from what it looks like. With like phases, I think, right? With like it's still turn, but like it's more action-based than turn, right? The other one was just turn, if I saw that correctly. And like you can like walk around. It's a little more. This reminds me of Eternal Sonata, actually. Eternal Sonata is something similar, where like you have like an attack phase for each character, and you can like spam attacks until like the phase runs out. Maybe it's similar to that.
What future Neptunian games would become. They changed the aesthetics, they introduced more interesting characters, there are a lot of alternate endings. And the plot gets its moments to have the spotlight in some areas, like the Uni Brave thing I mentioned earlier. Neptunia caught its stride in this game. And then they hit it out of the park with their next game. Hyperdimension Neptunia Victory, released in August of 2012. Kinda weird these games kept coming out in August. This time a direct sequel to Mark II, taking place shortly after. And this is the game that the Rebirth games would later copy. Everything you know about modern Neptunia, it started here. It's way more stylized, more focused on what Vision had wanted to portray. This game looks great. There's a handful of new characters, new ideas, new concepts, and even more goddesses, including Jailbait. The original trilogy of Neptunia are often cited as
Jailbait. Hold up. I know what this means. This one's more like XCOM games. Or Fire Emblem. Okay.
okay introductory games. They can suffice, but you'd be better off playing the remakes for PS Vita and Steam.
Is there yaoi in the background? Did I just see that correctly? Hold up, wait a minute. Hold up. It is.
Introductory games. They can suffice, but you'd be better off playing—
It is. Is this an actual game back? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can tell. This was made by women. This was made by women. Where you move your character to attack. Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah. See that? The guy in the background, I'm assuming the dude has like these like red stripes. Like he's like tied up like a Christmas present.
The remakes for PS Vita and Steam. The Rebirth trilogy. These games not only fix some issues the original games had, but also adds more to them, like more endings and content. Hell, I would say that Rebirth 1 is the definitive way to play the first game. You don't want to be caught dead playing the original PS3 game. The Rebirth games follow the gameplay that Victory standardized and have made it way more accessible. The Steam versions are most definitely the best way to play these, and it's crazy to think, 4 years after the Rebirth games were put onto Steam, they added new DLC to them, adding even more content and features, even ones you think would already be in the game. And that's not even mentioning the spin-offs. Neptunia has a bunch of spin-offs, and I mean a shit ton of spin-offs, like there's so many. Neptunia got 4 games in 2014 alone, and half of them were spin-offs. The others were remakes.
I mean, they're all on the PS Vita, so like that's the perfect place to load them on, but like interesting. Graphics are similar to Metin 2, could be.
They were cranking out these games like crazy, which might have not been the best idea. The first spin-off Neptunia received was Producing Perfection. I can't even record this game, it's not compatible with PlayStation TV, thanks. It's not much, it's considered the worst game of the series. You're looking at gameplay right now, actually. All you do is tell the girls what dance to do and change the camera and effects every now and then.
I own them all. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Awkward. Not really. Interesting.
This could have been a rhythm beat game. Instead, we got Idol Manager Simulator, and it fucking sucks. This game was also the end of an era for the Neptunia series. Up until here, all the games were published by NIS America outside of Japan. But with the release of Rebirth 1, that changed. The information about this isn't concrete or confirmed, but it seems that Idea Factory were pushing to get Neptunia onto Steam, but NIS America insisted that Steam was bad business. So, Idea Factory formed their own US branch, Idea Factory International, and some NIS America employees left the company to go work for Idea Factory International. What did NIS America do to their employees? Unfortunately, because of this, Idea Factory and Nippon Ichi's relationship has been kinda rocky, so characters from previous Neptunia games, like Nisa and Gus, were never seen again. At least
uncannoned, deleted, yoinked. Interesting. Interesting.
in Neptunia. These characters still exist in their own way. Nisa now makes an appearance in the Skya games, even straight up talking about game industry in some dialogue, and Gus appears in Knights of Azura. It's nice to see these characters are still alive in some ways, but it's sad we'll never see them in Neptunia again. Regardless, from here on out, Idea Factory International would be localizing their games themselves, and it helped them get their games onto Steam and, profit. And I mean, good for them. As I grew to love Neptunia, I also grew to learn more about the company that makes the games and all their other games like Death End Request and Fairy Fencer F, which I'll go over in their own videos, perhaps, maybe, we'll see. After they finished the Rebirth trilogy and a couple of spin-offs, in 2015, Neptunia would be leaping into next gen with Mega Dimension Neptunia V2, releasing on April 20th.
April 23rd, 2015. Interesting. Again, I've never played any of these games, but they look interesting. I just need to, right? They're all on a lot of PlayStation stuff, so like it's a little bit difficult for me. The games are basically one big parody. They're pretty much, right? They are a parody of like the gaming industry, right? He said that straight up.
3rd, my birthday. Wow, you shouldn't have. And no, that's not a 7, that's a V, and that's a 2.
Mega Dimension Neptunia V2!
The gameplay is pretty much just an enhanced version of Victories, adding some minor things to.
Is that a fucking Mario tube? Is that a fucking... Yo, Mario's gonna jump out of that. That's crazy. That's funny.
Spice it up. Despite that, this game did a lot for the series, introducing the best character in the series thus far, having a unique story format where each chapter takes place in a new dimension, new transformations, and this is the game that, I believe, finally got the mesh of the characters and plot right, sharing the spotlight to highlight the importance of each, rather than one being more prominent than the other. And that's seen in their newest character, Uzume Tenoboshi, where the plot is directly related with her character as a whole. This was the best game in the series up until that point, but after that, the drought came in. For 7 straight years, not a single...
For 7 years, not a single game. Probably not even what is it called? A That's the one I have. Okay, interesting. Probably not even a spin-off. Damn, 7-year drought for nothing. They got nothing.
New entry for the mainline series was made. Instead, we got a ton of spin-offs
Never mind. Spin-offs were received. Never mind. But then, no main game. I wonder why they cooked up the 7 years then.
and a couple of remakes. Not that these games are bad. Some of these are actually of better quality than the mainline games. Some of them, and that some is small and recent. I might talk about all these in the future for their own videos, but because of the overabundance of spin-offs and the lack of mainline games, interest for the series has died down significantly.
Bikinis. Sounds my type of game. Sounds my type of game.
Because of nothing to spark interest in the community, the series is starting to dwindle down. It sucks to see this series that I hold dearly be mishandled, so much so to the point that people are turned away from it. Not to mention, getting new people into the series is nearly impossible. Neptunia's gameplay, no matter which game you're talking about, was never appealing to general audiences. Show this to anyone, you think they're going to be like, oh boy, can't wait to play this! And you'd think the fan service bits would be a bit of a turn on, but it actually does the opposite because of how frequent it is. And what they choose to put that fan service into, but I'm not going to get into that, is to be expected at this point. It's been so oversaturated.
Well, fan service is, then again, it's always the problem, right? It's always the problem that, like, you're never gonna market it to people that don't like fan service, and there's many normies that don't. You're never getting this game to be played by normies. Let's be honest, right? Let's be honest. Let's be honest. You are never getting normies to play this, because the normies are turned off by it, because the normies don't understand. It just makes sense.
It's the reason why I've been talking about literally everything else good that the series has offered and continues to bring. And I think that's why I've still stuck by this series, even during the worst times. I'm here for the characters, the world, I'm here for anything except the gameplay. It gets so repetitive, especially since there are like 8 games that play exactly the same from each other. When put into that perspective, it's no wonder this series is starting to die down. But there is still hope for this series to make a resurgence. In 2021, Neptunia X Senran Kagura Ninja Wars released for PS4 and later for Nintendo Switch and Steam. It's one of the best looking games in the series up until that point. This game is developed by Tamsoft, who is no stranger to the Neptunia series by this point. Neptunia U, Nep vs. Zombies, Four Goddesses Online. While these games could be a hit or miss, I think Ninja Wars is a perfect example of this gameplay formula done right. It actually looks good and plays well too, and for it being a crossover means people of Senran Kagura's fanbase might give Neptunia a try and vice versa, if there wasn't already a lot of overlap, but that's beside the point. It's still a spin-off, but it feels like heart was put into this one. And in this year alone, we already got...
Well, rare W, rare W, rare. Anything except the gameplay. Well, you gotta... If you can't improve the gameplay, you must improve the boobs. It's that simple. Wise words from a boobologist.
2 Neptunia games that show huge promise. Dimension Tripper Neptune Top Nep is a rail shooter that came out at the same time as a new OVA for the anime. Yes, there's an anime, but that's for another day. There's a lot to go over about that one. We're focusing on the games today. Top Nep is exclusively on Steam at the moment, and I think this is a very promising title for Neptunia's future and spin-offs. The art style is pretty, and it feels like a parody of Space.
I mean, it looks cute. It kind of looks cute. I like it. Remember in private school, everyone called me cringe for watching anime. It's for kids, and then showed them Tokyo Ghoul, and then never have asked me back then. Makes sense. Makes sense. Both is good. Yep. Double Z.
Barrier. The gameplay is almost identical. I think this is what Neptunia spin-offs should be from now on. Parodies of other game genres rather than just a different kind of RPG. But nothing shows as much hope as the newest game in the series. This is Hyperdimension Neptunia, Sisters vs. Sisters, the latest entry into the Neptunia series, and boy does it look promising. At the time of this
I'm gonna get violated by YouTube with all these Japanese songs, Jesus.
video, an English release still hasn't been announced, So I went out of my way to get a Japanese PS4 copy just to see what this game has to offer, and I am not disappointed in the slightest. The best way I could describe this game is if Neptunia adopted Final Fantasy VII Remake's gameplay. It's an action RPG where you can actively switch between party members during combat. It's a breath of fresh air to finally see something other than a turn-based RPG or a hack and slash. This is what the series needed, and they finally updated the models for the game. They actually look good. Even the very slight and subtle movements.
Did you just give her a beard? What?
During
Crazy.
dialogue is new. It really makes these characters look more alive than ever. Oh, and the new characters look so good! Ah! And they finally fixed an ongoing problem that the Neptunia series was plagued by for years. Reused assets. Now, I'm not the type of guy to complain about reusing assets in games. But Combat Heart, they're kings at it. Even in games that aren't Neptunia, they'll find a way to reuse assets. And while Sisters vs. Sisters still reuses some assets, most of it's brand new. Like the dungeons, every dungeon in every Neptunia game was almost the same damn thing. It alternated between like 8 different ones with different layouts, and it was so boring. But this game has brand new dungeons, and they all look great. This game could be the start of the Neptunia resurgence that the fans desperately needed. Is it a mainline? Is it a spin-off? Nobody really knows right now. There's not a lot of info about that, but regardless, there's no denying that this is the first.
Well, consider this, right? Considering that the gameplay style changes, it might not be one, but it still might be. Who knows? Like, you'll be Doug's. Stop comparing me with her wife.
Quality Neptunia game in a very long time. I'd go as far as to say it's the best game in the series thus far. And I'm still going to be here for the long run to see how the future of the series plays out. Like I said, I was never here for the gameplay, and Neptunia is the only series I would say this for. I'm playing it because the characters and world are worth it. They're fun, they're interesting, it's a concept that many people would enjoy if given the chance. Neptunia still lives in my heart as a series I cherish. I just hope that Sisters vs. Sisters gives it that spark it needed to keep going another 10 years. And if you're still watching and are at all interested in giving the games a try, I'd recommend picking up the Rebirth trilogy and V2. They're all available on Steam, and when they go on sale, they go down pretty cheap. Give this series the chance that many others wouldn't, and if you end up liking it, great, express it. Show the community how much you liked it. The community could use a fresh positive face right now, and if we stick around long enough, we might even get to see the rebirth of the Neptunia series. Did I get my point across at all? I don't know. Go play Neptunia.
Yeah, that's pretty much the summary of this. Okay, so here's my summary. The girls are cute, and that would be a reason to play it. That would be a reason to play it. That's all I'm gonna say. That is all I'm gonna say. Anyways, rather interesting. So it's basically just a parody based on the video game industry, with even using real life events from the video game industry. I think that's a cool concept. Though the gameplay is kind of cooked, I feel like at times, but yeah. Anyways, like, comment, and subscribe.